welcome. My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to our new feature, Product of the Month. So if you saw my video on Monday, you will see that I introduced you to May's Product of the Month, which was these beautiful papers. You get 12 sheets in total. They're all 12 by 12. You get the spots, the lines, and then you get 2 sheets of different flowers. So this one, and then it's a little bit more of a white version. That was if you spend £70 in one go, then you can purchase the papers for £5. However, this product is for May, still available, but it's for May, but there is one for June. And I didn't want you to miss out on that, so I have brought in my stamp set. So again, £70 or more in one transaction. You can purchase this as a one-off purchase for £5. So this is June's product, which is the Wild Bunch, which is the cow, the snail, koala, and penguin. It's got some infill, so you've got little flowers, you've got sparklers, you've got squares, you've got foliage, you've got the little heart, and then we have sentiments. Happy birthday, thank you for all you do, hi friend, sending love, and just a little note. It is a beautiful stamp set. So let me bring in the card that we're going to create, which is this one here. So you get to use all of the animals with this card. Right, let's bring in the supplies. So my supplies are basic grey, which measure 8 inches by 5 3/4, and I've scored and burnished it at the 4-inch mark. I then have, yes, I have got a post-it note and I will be using it. I have a white piece of cardstock which measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. I think I'll be using that side, as there was a little mark on the other one. The colour cardstock, again basic grey, is 2 1/2 by 4 3/4, and then I have this white piece. Oh no, please don't hate me. It's 2 3/8 by 4 5/8. Okay, so let's start with the stamping as usual. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp on this piece of white card. I'm just going to even down the sides. What we're going to do is we're going to work from the top left hand corner down towards the bottom right hand corner with the happy birthday on a slant. So let me ink up the happy birthday, and I'm going to make sure that it's there. You want to leave yourself a little gap, ink it up again, and let's go there. I could probably get 2 on here. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so we're still working down towards this bottom right hand corner. And you're going to put 1 there. 1 there. Probably get another 1 there. On there, on there, on there, and then down here again at the bottom. So what we need to do now is to fill in the gaps. So you're just going to get a gap there, and there. Bit of a gap there. You could just get the Y in there. Managed to put my finger on that bit, so but that's okay. Hopefully it will be covered up with my main focal point, so I'm not going to worry too much. There we go. Tiny bit there. And then, so that is the hard bit done. You can check that you're happy with your happy birthday by popping that in the middle. Excuse me, which I am. What I might do is I might just add a bit there and a bit there. So let's ink those up. I'm going to touch the Y there and the Y there. And maybe, whoops, let's see if we can get the H there. Right. I think that might be a bit better. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's those pieces. So the next thing to do now is to bring in our smaller piece, which is going to be the focal piece for our characters. So the first thing I'm going to do, oh, I must got ink. Look, I've got it on my fingers. Let's grab a clean chamois. Grab that off my fingers. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to turn this over. Just fold down the edges here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we are now going to stamp up or ink up our snail, because I want him to be in the front. There we are. And I'm going to put him as low down onto the cardstock as possible. Let's put him up there a bit so I can see what I'm doing. There he is. Now, because I'm going to want to put things behind him, this is what the post-it note is for. So my sticky part of the post-it note is this bit here. So I'm going to pop that down to the bottom. I'm going to ink up my snail again, and then I'm going to put his long body down the bottom on like that. And then with my scissors, I'm going to cut all the way around him. I'm going to cut off his antlers until he looks like that. And of course the stickiness is at the bottom, and that can then go over my snail so that when I stamp my characters around him, they look like they're behind. So let's start with the penguin. I'm going to ink him up. There we are, my little penguin. Actually going to have him behind. And there we are, it's a little penguin popping out from behind. Then I've got my koala. He's going to go on the side here, but I just want to make sure I'm not going to get his ears. Can you see his ears are there? I'm just going to pop him down there. Perfect. And then we've got our Highland cow. There he is. And he's going to come over here. And he's just going to stand very close to the snail, but not on him. There we go. Perfect. Right, so there are all our characters stamped up. And once we remove the snail, you can see that they are all in alignment and nobody looks out of order. Okay. So the next thing to do is to colour these in. The colours I've got, so let's start with, I've got light and dark smoky slate. So I'm going to do dark on the koala's ears, like so. And then I'm going to give him a light body. Then I've got pecan pie. Pecan pie is going to go for, let's do the light, is going to do his little hairstyle here. Oops, it's all right, I was just pushing them off the table there. Okay, I've got the dark pecan pie, which I can do on his ears. Then I have the little light petal in pink. So I'm going to colour in his ivory horns. There we go. Then I have the light basic black for my black one. So I'm going to give my penguin his, there you go, black head. Very cute. And then I've got crumb cake, so I'm going to use the dark crumb cake to highlight my, I think I made you pull that, there I had, pull the nib out. That's what happens when you pull too hard. So I'm going to use the dark crumb cake and then the light to colour him in. Right, so once I've done all of that, it's going to look like this. Okay, this one away. And we have our beautiful animals. We can start putting our card together. So let's take our multi-purpose and just rub it down the back. Come on, I know you're in there, I can feel you. You're just not going to work on me today. Okay, let's try another one. There we go. It's been very hot here the last couple of days, and some of the glues are being a little bit temperamental. Okay, let's pop him there. And then I've got this, which I can stick on. Just make sure I've got it the right way around. So it's going to look terrible if I don't. Okay, and then the last but by no means least, I'm going to pop him up onto dimensionals. So let's bring those in. Turn it over, and then put one at each corner. There we are. And pull that back. It's probably easier to get take your pick and pull off the backings that way. Yeah, that's it. And then you can pop that onto there. Now I don't need a happy birthday because it is actually behind the card, but obviously if you wanted to, you could put a happy birthday up there or a little banner that goes underneath. So that is today's card. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the all grey or do you prefer the pink and brown effect? I'm not sure I like both, I have to say. So either card I think would be quite nice to receive. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. Do join me on Friday when I'm going to use May and June's product of the months together to make our funky fold. All right, thanks ever so much. Take care. Bye.